well, I came in and volunteered to talk to Mr. Ishmael, and I volunteered to come and speak to you today as one of their patrons. They said that the average age was about 47. Well, that's got me about 10 years, so I'm 57. My hair is balding, but I still like to go out and eat at a nice restaurant. And for 17 years, I was the vice president of sales for Continental Computer, which is the largest computer funeral home software company in the United States. And we went out and went virtually all across America with my clients as well as my salesmen, and I've eaten in a lot of restaurants around the world as well as the United States. And to have a world-class restaurant, we already have one in Jonesboro. It's Pieros, and it is world-class. The only thing missing with a world-class restaurant is a glass of wine. That's the only thing missing. And we have people from all over the world that come to visit Jonesboro. We have people from all sorts of universities, from Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Cornell. They come to Jonesboro periodically. And where do the people from ASU, where the business community, they take everybody to a downtown restaurant. And the downtown restaurant most of them take them to is Pieros, because it is very, very nice. And my wife and I eat there at least a couple of times a week when we're in town, maybe 3 times. And it's a wonderful, genteel clientele. It is not loud, it's not obnoxious, it's very genteel. It is a wonderful place. They cook wonderful food. And I have a lot of my friends and church associates and good Christian brothers and sisters behind us here that are against this, which is fine, and I understand that. And I do understand it. I'm a fundamentalist myself. And because of that fact, I feel like I can speak to you as somebody that comes just for a nice meal. And if you're going to have a world-class city and a world-class state to compete with other cities and states around the country as well as the world, you have to have places to bring people when they come in for business. And that's what we've always done there in Jonesboro when we're downtown, is there are other places to take people to go out and eat. But to make it a world-class place, Jonesboro as well as the state of Arkansas, Pieros is the only place to take them. And so that's the reason I'm here. And I'm honored and proud to be one of his customers. And if you have any questions, I'd be honored to answering them right now.
Go ahead. It's safe to say the Chamber of Commerce through the years have been very successful in attracting business from industry from other parts of the country located in Jonesboro.
That's correct.
And when those kinds of people come into town and the chamber talks to them, lots of times they bring them to this restaurant.
That's correct. That's correct. And they always, I always want to order a glass of wine.
And I'd say on top of that, the presentation before that Mr. Davis gave, they look at that real good too, what the downtown revitalization is.
That's correct. That's correct.
Bob, you got the camera on me here, Bob, because I'm going to ask a question.
All right. Glad to oblige.
I want to make sure I'm not blinking or yawning or anything here. So you
I only run the camera.
What do you know these people personally? I mean, are they character quality people? And is it your opinion they would run a good establishment if they were granted a permit?
That is in the affirmative.
Questions? Other questions of the board? Mr. Shell, questions, Mr. Freeman?
I guess what I'm hearing you say, Mr. Freeman, is it your testimony that without alcohol and wine or spirits, it won't be a world-class town, restaurant?
Without a world-class restaurant, and I consider myself halfway an expert, because I've eaten at virtually every restaurant that you can eat between the Atlantic and the Pacific. Not everyone, of course, because I've lost some weight.
And you have lost some weight.
I have,
20 years ago.
I have. But to have a world-class restaurant, you have to have the presentation of wine to do.
What is world-class?
A restaurant like Pieros. When you have a...
Are there other world-class restaurants in Jonesboro? That's a hot question.
Well, downtown, no.
Are there in Jonesboro?
Yes.
Do they serve alcohol?
Yes.
I was under the impression no other restaurant.
Oh,
in
like the
Jonesboro.
Jonesboro Country Club serves, which is in the Ridge Point Country Club.
Okay, you're
Those aren't
talking about
restaurants.
places with permits.
I'm talking about places with permits.
But there's no restaurants as such. I don't believe in Jonesboro.
That's,
I think this is the request for the first restaurant
that's correct.
in.
Restaurant private club.
Right, correct.
Slash.
I mean, that's my humble opinion. That's my humble opinion.
Mr. Fowler's made a good, I think Mr. Freeman made a good point, the country club serves food, I mean, you eat food, food's food.
Food too.
So food is.
Private club slash restaurant.
Food
That's
is
how I
served,
consider it.
food is saying, food is served in the presence of alcohol in Jonesboro already, unless I'm missing
Okay.
one.
Well, that is correct.
So,
And
so
there-
the only world-class, your testimony is the only world-class restaurants in Jonesboro are the ones that serve alcohol.
Well, Pieros,
I'm trying to narrow down exactly
Okay.
what you're saying.
that's correct. That's correct. But I would like to see Jonesboro come up to the standard of anywhere from New York, Atlanta, Dallas, New Orleans, San Francisco, Seattle.
You know what the newspaper's gonna say tomorrow.
What are they gonna say tomorrow?
Woody Freeman doesn't eat it.
There's no world-class restaurants unless
Well.
they're selling alcohol, and Woody Freeman says these other restaurants are not. I put you on the spot there.
Well,
And that's fine.
Woody, it's a good thing you're retired.
The other point I wanted to ask,
I have nothing to gain in any of this.
I understand.
And I still eat in all of the restaurants in Jonesboro.
I
I
understand.
eat at every one of them. Because my wife quit cooking years ago.
The point I wanted to make.
Mr. Shell, Bob Hester said in the paper the other day, he didn't have any trouble with country clubs either, did he?
Well, I don't like them, but you know,
You didn't have any trouble.
Mr.
I'll be
Ellis,
happy to take you to lunch anytime.
not there you are.
Okay.
Mr. Ellis's point, I think is a good one, and your question that you made, or the question that you asked of Mr. Freeman was, the chamber has been very successful in the last several years, and I think we all know, and we've seen Jonesboro in raising industry and everything. I don't want to miss the point that they have done that without an alcohol
And certainly they have.
in a public, so to speak, restaurant. So,
And I'll concede that.
okay, that's all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Freeman, we appreciate you.
May I take a moment, please?
Yeah, one more.
Woody, have you looked at these letters in the
Yes,
back,
sir.
in the back of this book?
Yes, I have.
Do you know any of these people?
I know most of them.
What, can you summarize what they're saying in support? I mean, these are all supporting, aren't they?
Well, they're just reiterating what I've just said. They're all very professional people. They're all people that have an interest in Jonesboro and bringing it up to world-class standards.
Okay. Are these responsible
Please not
people?
speak.
That is
Yes.
professionals, business people, mature people, or are they, geeks out here somewhere?
Don't point at me when you
Well,
say
wait, does
that.
it matter?
It doesn't
Yes,
matter.
it matters.
No, it doesn't matter at
Well,
all. Because
it is-
there's people from all walks of life that
That's a
patronize.
Now, I'm
Pieros.
talking about their recommendation of
The
Pieros.
recommendations are all business people.
It is evident that there is a wealth of people from all walks of life in the back of this book that purport to be in favor of Pieros. I mean, we got that, Mr. Shell's got it.
I'll take one exception maybe to what the chairman is saying. I don't believe there are any public officials in that.
No, no. Business, this
And if
looks
I was
like
a public official, I wouldn't be in there
a
either.
wealth of business people.
No, but,
Because it's against the public sentiment.
well, no, it's not against the public sentiment. It really isn't. But there is a vast,
Business, there's a lot of business people in
that's right, a
support
lot
of
of
this
business
thing here.
people are for
We
it.
can see it
There
ourselves.
are a lot of vocal people against it.
And you're gonna present people against it.
Yeah, and I have respect for the people that might come against it, from my friend, the sheriff and chief of police, anybody out here.
Okay, I have
How many letters are we talking about?
Sir, I apologize, I didn't count them. Frankly, I was going for quality and substance rather than numbers, and I apologize, I have not counted them.
Mr. Freeman, you have anything else you want to add?
Not a thing, but
We
thank you very much.
We appreciate you
Thank you for
taking
coming.
your time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Leave our depending on what comes up.
Okay. Well, you'll be able to question his witnesses as they come out, so, and then we'll end up closing statement. Okay, we're gonna take about 5 again, and then, here, and, we're in, round 2 here. So, back on record, and Mr. Shell will present his case. Mr. Ishmael will, be allowed to ask questions, and then we'll, Close her up here.
Before we get carried away, I just want to make sure that, that the exhibits I've got are so far the only 4 offered. I've got applicants 1, which is the big book with the binder, everybody got a copy of that. Applicants 2 was this deal about the Brookland Country Club Incorporated. Number 3 was this population summary off of Yahoo. And then number 4 was the Jonesboro Regional Chamber of Commerce. All exhibits are marked as such.
Mr. Bennett, I have your petitions down here because I've got a question about a couple of things here, so I'll turn those back
That's
into you
fine.
when you're ready.
Mr. Chairman, I have some other exhibits that I would like to offer. If I can do it later, that's fine, but if...
What have we got?
Well, I offered the Prunty no violation certificate.
No, let's, if you add any before Mr. Shell gets the case going,
Yeah, let's if you
let's
got
go ahead and
something-
put
Okay.
things you've talked about, let's put them in.
They are things that I've talked about.
Mr. Shell's got copies of
You're
it.
taking my 2.
No, no, it is not.
No, I can just hand them over there and
All right.
he can mark them. I want to put in the board decision on Sage Meadows, Josie's, Reginald Prunty, and Chili Outback.
Is that
What, I mean, you know.
It'll take judicial notice of
what
that.
he in? I mean,
You can do them by reference if you want to, because they're all part of this board's records.
Well, you know, I'm struggling with relevancy, but it doesn't go to admissibility. I mean, certainly it's admissible, but I'm just wondering why.
The relevancy is, I think this board considers consistency and fairness, and I want to have them in there for reference.
I haven't got any trouble with that. They're already a part of all the file. Go ahead and put them in real quick. I want to let Mr. Shell get on with his
I don't mind them
business
being in by reference. It doesn't matter.
Well, I need the photocopy.
And,
here. Let's,
that, and I'm not handing it to you?
I'm not finding it.
Okay.
I got the board decision.
Here it is. Thank you, Adam. My mistake.
All right, for whatever purpose, Mr. Chairman, it's your desire to go ahead and receive these as exhibits.
Mr. Shell said he didn't have any objections, so let's
Okay.
put them in and go.
We don't have, oh, here it is. Here is the Chili's Outback. One more.
Which we were very popular with some people at that time.
I like that.
Everybody, yeah, that's a good one to put in there. We kind of ride a little roller coaster here from time to time.
All right, very quickly,
All right. Mr. Shell, why don't you go ahead and start? We're just
really?
passing this out, so I'm prepared to start listening to
ready.
you.
Well,
Start lining up.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you. I started to say this morning, but it's no longer morning. Just an observation or two before I start this the case in chief. The presentation on the PowerPoint was very good. I mean, it was maybe more than I wanted, but it showed me some things, and I know it was intended for a purpose to show need maybe for Pieros. However, my observation was that the city of Jonesboro is in very good shape. I didn't see many vacancies down on Main Street. It looks like there's a lot of revitalization going on. And my observation is that this city is growing and doing very well. And of course, my point on that is it's doing it without alcohol permit there. And I think the point goes both ways, I guess. But I'm impressed with what I see of Jonesboro. The people I represent certainly have the opinion that it's going to continue to do well without the presence of a private club permit down on its main street. The other point that I wanted to make in addressing the membership list, that I appreciate you letting me take a look at that, because I had not seen it. This is my, it's important to me, and obviously you as a board have to make a decision here, but just thumbing through that list, I noticed, I think there was maybe 4 or 5 pages where all the people listed on it were from Jonesboro. On every other page listed in there are people from counties all over the state. And I noted, as I wrote down, I noted states, people from Virginia, Texas, Michigan, Missouri, Tennessee, Alabama, obviously Arkansas. I mean, the petitions were received by people from all over the country. And while other people in other states feel it is important to them for some reason, they don't live in Craighead County. And the wishes of the people of Craighead County, I think, have to be primary in the minds of the board. I believe the board's has to look, I mean, that's one of the factors that you look at, the area, the residents, the opposition, the support. And so I'm asking you, in considering the numbers there of people, to realize that many of those numbers come from as far away as Virginia and Michigan. And so there's a little caveat to the list and to the numbers that you're looking at. And the did you have a question?
Where you find that list?
That's the one. I did not get to see it. It evidently was introduced this morning.
No, it's this group of petitions right here. It's the support petitions that came in, and it was purported to us that these were gathered inside their restaurant, and I'm assuming from guests that stopped in. It appears, as we look through this, that I saw one page here that had about 4 people from Virginia on it, and I'm still looking. You know, and there's a Fort Smith here.
Well, you know, last month, Mr. Chairman, when we were talking about Magic Springs, the opposition to it brought in 3,000 petitions, and they were from all over the state of Arkansas. And at that point, the argument was, you know, that they were citizens of Arkansas. Now, I agree, out of state's a little much to be stretching for Virginia and places like that, but I would think surrounding counties would certainly be okay. I mean, because it's in the trade zone of Jonesboro.
Well,
I mean, if they're
it would appear, and everybody on the board can look at this. I counted 4 from Virginia. I see a number of. There's people from Pine Bluff on here. There's people from Wiener. There's people from Harrisburg.
Fort Smith, Walnut Ridge. I mean, there's
obviously these were people that stopped in your restaurant and you've had them sign it that were in the Jonesboro area. Is that correct?
The Virginia people were here. They were computer people here from Virginia Tech that were going to ASU.
All right, and I think Mr. Shelp correctly notes that there are a few in here that are from out of state.
So are we talking about 10% of?
I would know. That's supposed to
Mr.
be
Ellis, what I noted was
But
there are people on every page except for 4 or 5 that are not from Jonesboro area.
They are
So
from
there are from
surrounding cities around the state.
And my point,
would they be guests of someone from Johnson?
Yes, sir, they were.
they might be. The point is, and particularly in a dry county situation, it's particularly relevant that those counties, since a county is dry, and I'm not saying we can't have private clubs. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. I understand what the law is. I understand as far as you can have private clubs in dry counties. That's the law. You know, if I was king, that might not be my law, but that's the law, okay? And I understand that. So I'm going to try to play within the boundaries, okay? And I understand that's your responsibility. But one of the things that I'm going, and y'all have heard me before, but one of the things that I'm going to put out before you today and shoot you with, I guess, is the fact that I know you have to consider factors. There are 5, 6 or 7, I guess 7 factors that suit the public interest. And that's some of the things that you consider. But I want to submit as well that it's your obligation as a board to enforce the law. If I can refer to the statute here, Statute 32207, this is Arkansas law, subsection E, regarding qualifications and oath of personnel regarding the ABC board. And each member of the board, director, enforcement agent, everybody, shall take and subscribe to an oath that he will support and enforce the provisions of this subchapter, the alcohol control laws of this state, the Arkansas Constitution, and the United States Constitution. Very broad. I have to assume that you all took an oath sometime. I mean, I figure that's part of your responsibility on the board. So when I put this out there before you, my understanding is it is your responsibility to enforce all of these rules. Now, it's also your responsibility to interpret them. And that's why you're chosen for this position. And I respect that. I'm going to give you my position. I'm going to give you the position of the people that I represent. Something for you to consider. It may be valid, in your estimation it may not be valid. But it is my understanding that not only do you consider the factors, but it's your responsibility to enforce all of those laws, and that encompasses the laws in this book, which I'm going to refer to quite a bit here in the next few minutes. Now, I think as far as general observations and comments,
Mr. Shell, can I bring up something?
sure.
Not only have we sworn an oath, but there's a couple of gentlemen up here that swore oaths when they were overseas fighting for our country. Doc Hyman in World War II, and Mr. Fuller right here in Vietnam. So we have some added, you know, they've taken the oath many times to protect their country and community, and I think we should all.
I was glad to see that veteran statue there. Let's go on.
I just wanted to bring that point up.
I appreciate it. I have utmost respect for those who serve our country.
Me too.
That is, it's a, well, I can't say nothing about it. I appreciate you bringing that forward.
Appreciate your remarks.
The other thing in kind of in rebuttal, I guess, to start off is there was some testimony about the quality of this restaurant. Now, I've never dined at Pieros, and the Tramarkis seem to be delightful people. I mean, and civic-minded and all of that. I don't know that there's anybody here who has questioned that, but I think there are different opinions about quality of restaurants and everything. And I can't personally speak to that, but I looked up in the break a online rating service regarding restaurants. It's called dine.com. It gives ratings of restaurants, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but I noticed that Pieros is rated as a 2.67. Okay, now this is Jonesboro. The search was at Jonesboro, area code 72401, and there's a lot of restaurants listed here, but there's a lot of them listed higher than 2.67. And so I would like to, and I
Well, you
apologize.
pass it on to Mr. Freeman.
Yeah, right.
They're all Jonesboro. They're all Jonesboro. And so just, and I'm sorry this is, I couldn't get the printer. I'm not going to y'all's printer, but I printed up, and it's a little bit confusing how this is, but it's all, even one of them printed on your letterhead there. And I didn't intend that, but that was the paper that's in it.
That's all right.
But I just want to include this as opposition number one, and they're in different order.
Is it that they're not as good a restaurant as they say they are, or is that one?
I
It's
just
not as
want,
good, or?
no, I don't. I'm sure they have good food. I just wanted to point out that there are differing opinions about maybe world-class restaurants, and so just to rebut that to some extent. Now then, let's go on. Oh well.
This is the rankest kind of hearsay. We don't have any idea what the source of this is. And it's my understanding that this is very likely, like so many things on the internet, you pay to get on there, you pay for your rating, you pay for your ranking. I think it is not only rank hearsay, it is very unreliable and in all likelihood grossly misleading.
Difference of objection is noted.
Be admitted, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, put that in the record with the objections that we
Do
have.
you know what Piero's paid for their rating? Because they're listed in here. It said something about they have to pay for a rating.
We did not.
Okay.
Maybe.
even know we were in.
Okay, I think we got an internet source here. We all know about the internet. We've got it in. Mr. Shell thinks it's a good piece of evidence. We've had an opposite opinion, so we'll put it in the record and go on.
Mr. Chairman, I am not going to object because he doesn't have 7 or 8 of them to hand out, but I would like to have one of them before I leave today.
Absolutely. It's an evidence. You can get anything you want.
Thank you.
And Mr. Shell can too. Go
All
ahead.
right. Now we'll start in, and I'm going to approach my approach is going to be twofold. The first is going to be, I'm going to talk about some of the regulations and observations about the failure of this organization to qualify under the ABC Board rules and regulations. So I know you're familiar with this book, and that's what we're going to be looking at. And then the second part is we will look at the factors specifically. And I don't have a PowerPoint. We'll just have to hear a few witnesses, and then some of my observations. You can certainly ask questions at any time. I'll be glad to address those as I can. First of all, I'm going to, and I know we had some dialogue about the new law, the community hospitality expansion, if you will, of the law by the legislature. I'm going to make the statement because I need to make it on the record, and I believe I have the board's understanding of what that means. But my statement is that I do not believe that I guess I heard them say the community hospitality is the benefit or the purpose of this organization. And the description I got in the application is a little bit confusing, to be honest. I don't really understand. I understand supportive arts and maybe some training of artful food design and marketing maybe. And then there's a scholarship purpose, and I understand that. I'm not sure I understand really how that all fits together. But I'm going to make the statement really specifically for the record that the purpose is not a qualified purpose within the meaning of what my interpretation the legislature intended when they expanded it. The expansion, my understanding was that it has to do not with for a purpose of a restaurant to have a permit at all times, but when people come to a community for a convention or for training, or maybe come to ASU for teaching or something like that, if they would have a place where they can serve some alcohol. Not that a restaurant could have a permit at all times, so that on the off chance that somebody comes to town, that they could do that. So
let me ask you a question about that.
Okay.
And I've tried to read that thing 2 or 3 times myself. And to me, a restaurant is a restaurant. I mean, and that's used, a couplet that's used, especially in the back end of that. Well, help me through this. Where do you and I differ? Where do you and I differ on that restaurant thing? I mean, restaurant to me is I've never thought of a restaurant as anything other than a place to sit down and eat a meal, or in this case, they're one consuming a glass of wine. Did you get that?
well, I understand what you're saying, and the second part that you're referring to, where it says the General Assembly recognizes that many individuals travel to this state to assemble at regional meetings and conventions to associate with other individuals who are members of professional and social organizations. And then semicolon. That many of the restaurants and entertainment facilities used for meetings and conventions promote the hospitality of the host communities where restaurants, convention, and entertainment facilities are located. That many of the host organizations plan to serve mixed drinks containing alcoholic beverages to their friends and guests at these meetings and while entertaining and dining during these conventions. My interpretation is that maybe they could have this, but it's for a very limited purpose.
Well, all I can go on, and I don't speak for everybody on this board, all I can go on is what was passed by the legislature. That I have to interpret that. You've got an interpretation, and we have to try to sort it out.
Well, I wanted to make that point, and I don't want to belabor it. So I'm going to make the point.
Right.
You all are going to make a decision, and we will go from there. And the Supreme Court will have to tell us one of these days, maybe if what their answer is. So there I've made my point.
Mr. Chairman, if we start getting into too much.
We're not.
Because I want our legal personnel here.
Mr. Shell wrapped it all up, and I would prefer. Now we got that in. Let's just go. Let's go.
Okay.
Stick to the facts of this one.
Another thing that I have a little trouble with, and I was trying to understand what Ms. Trimarchi was saying, when I asked the question, but about if I wanted to join, I could. The trouble I have is, under the rules and regulations, there's a membership requirement, there's a membership committee. Now, this organization has a membership committee, it's their board of directors, and they properly have that. But I don't understand how somebody, like she said, I could come and join and be there. If I can go there, sign my name or fill out an application and pay a $10 fee or whatever, if I want to be a heavier member, I can pay $50 or $100. I'm not a member yet, according to these regulations. According to these regulations, I have to apply, and then I'm applying. I have to make applications, and the rules say no person shall be considered a member of a club holding a permit under the alcohol beverage laws of this state, unless the person has, number one, made application, and number two, been elected to member.
Key word, holding permit.
I think didn't we talk about this at Josie's deal here? We had this identical discussion. I think Mr. Bennett's going to say the identical thing.
Well,
let's go.
They don't have permits yet.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, I hear your point, but if they have to, look at the next section. Every private club must have a minimum of 100 members. If you're going to require 100 members, they're going to have to be elected properly.
Well, again, now I'm going to interject so we don't lose track of this record. ABC Regulation 5.2, club means private club. It didn't say private club means non-profit corporation, it means private club, which means you got the permit, okay? And we go back to something that I said at the very top of this hour, under ABC Reg 5.15 sub 1 and ABC Reg 5.21, this board, in drafting its own regulations, and this is not in the statute, so the board had to do this under its power to adopt regulation, says there's a difference between being a charter member and being a member after you get a permit. I mean, it's in the book. You know, it gets back to the same deal under the new Nonprofit Corporation Act. I can have a mutual benefit corporation with no members. I can be a perfectly valid nonprofit corporation. I'll never get an ABC permit because I'm not going to have any members. So, you know, a lot of this stuff has to apply after you get the permit, not before. You know, by the
This may be something, Michelle, when you get down to, you know, appeals, whatever you want, you might want to try to sort out. Might help us in the long run, but until that time, we sort of have to rely on our legal people who work on this. And I think Don's been over here how many years?
Way too many.
Way too many. And we got Mr. Moore's been here 17. He's an attorney too, and we have to rely on our legal people.
I understand.
So that's where we're at.
But if you interpret 5.19 that you have to have 100 members, which you do.
All right, 5.19,
Every private club.
A private club, it doesn't say every non-profit corporation, it says every private club. You don't get to be a private club until after you get the permit.
You're not considered for a private club until you have 100 members.
You have to have 100 members, but how you got them before you get the permit is irrelevant, because they're charter members.
No, it's relevant because section 5.118. It's the same language, Don.
No person shall be considered a member of a club holding a permit. They're non-profit
Okay,
corporations.
if you grant their permit today, they don't have any members.
No,
According to
they've
what
got
you just
charter
said.
members. The statute says in 39202 sub 10 that on the date you apply, you have to have a membership list of 100 people. You don't have to charge any money. Legislature got rid of the money, but the 39202 sub 10 is silent as to what you have to do to be a member before you apply. It's not there. I mean, we got all kinds of different organizations out there. We got veterans clubs, we got Eagles, we got Mooses, we got country clubs. We got, you know, when this pie was drawn in 1969, it satisfied a lot of people, and they've all got different bylaws and different membership requirements. And the only thing the ledge said in 39202 sub 10 is you got to have at least 100 of them. And if you get the private club permit, no person shall be considered a member of a club holding a permit under the ABC laws of the state of Arkansas until they've done da-da-da. They've got to have the permit, then some of this stuff applies, and by use of the word charter member, some of it doesn't apply.
Well, they identified their charter members in their application as 3, but their membership list contained 115.
Well,
I would think, okay, assuming what you're saying is
that's for
exactly.
Mr. Ishmael. All I know is the membership list, regardless of how they're classified. If you look at the membership list, They got Michael Lowland's memberships, they got Donatelli, was Donatelli one of them?
Yeah.
They got all different kinds of membership levels, indicating how much money people kicked into the kitty for the arts fund, whatever. Well, Mr. Ishmael can take this up. But regardless of what kind of classification they have, they got at least 100 members, and it doesn't matter to me under today's law whether they paid a dime or $5,000, because money's irrelevant under the 2003 legislation. They just got 100 members.
May I?
Briefly,
This particular point, even if Mr. Shell's point is valid, which I think it is, it's not applicable here. In this case, our minutes clearly reflect that all of the members, more than 100, were voted in by the membership committee and the dues paid before the application was made. This was my first time around. I tried to comply with the statute before I had to. So it doesn't.
I know we're gonna, if we keep splitting hairs here, I'm really interested in what some of your community is thinking and saying about this issue.
I got one last thing. Section 5.21, let's don't overlook it. All members, comma, other than charter members, comma, shall be approved as required by these regulations. Charter members are free tag. You know, if I wanted to do this kind of thing, I could go out to 7th and Bishop Streets and find the first 100 people and say, here's your free membership card. You're now a member. Please tell me.
Don, what's a charter member? There's three. They're the ones that start the organization.
Well, no.
This organization's been in existence almost 2 years. The charter members are the ones, Mr. Piero, Miss Sarah, and Paul, I believe, was the third one that I saw as charter members.
We had 3 charter members. They were the organizers of the corporation. Because I didn't have anything to do with this, they also had a charter level in the money. Charter level was $50. Donatella and Picasso and all those were more. But it was a charter level of contribution, which is just coincidence of use of terms. The 3 charter members were the 3 organizers, the 3 incorporators. That's what the law is for a charter member.
As a matter of fact, I'll ask the board, you know, of the list of the terms that are not defined, the word charter member is not literally defined, so the board can tell me at the end of this hearing if they agree that charter member means anybody that was a member before they applied for the private club, or whether it means something else to you. I submit to you that under ABC Reg 5.21, it means anybody that was out there on the list before they applied for their license, because that's what your own regulation said. All members, comma, other than charter members, comma, shall be approved as required by these regulations, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's what it said.
Okay, well, let's just move along, and I'll make the record. The other, I guess the consideration you have to make is whether you feel comfortable, if assuming this is correct, which I don't subscribe to that interpretation, but let's assume it is for your interpretation, for your decision today. You have to make a decision about this applicant based upon your determination of whether you believe this applicant will comply with these rules after the fact. If you issued a permit today, or if you do not, it's not an issue. If you issued a permit today, then you have to determine, well, is this corporation organized? Is it going to comply with these rules? Do I need to look at their past history of compliance? For instance, your rules in section 5.20 require a membership committee. Well, there is a membership committee. I mentioned that. It's the board of directors. There's 3 of them identified. There's some confusion about that, but there's 3 of them identified. That rule states, when considering membership applications, the membership committee shall keep written minutes showing the meeting date, names of the committee members present, name of the persons admitted. That does not exist. Okay? There are no membership meeting minutes in the application file. They're not there. So, there are some member meetings. Frankly, I'm going to look at this in a minute. We don't know who was there, but there are some member meetings. They did not have membership committee minutes.
We're back biting that same dog on the tail again, just going around the circle. Every private club, not every nonprofit corporation. Obviously, this is a requirement that attaches after they get a permit. And if they violate this and an ABC agent catches them violating it, then they can submit a violation report and it can be looked at by the board.
Okay, I
in the
understand
in the eventuality that it does become a permanent facility. I keep coming back, Mr. Shell. You know, we split a lot of hairs here on these definitions, and I know you want to make a record, but I am sure interested in hearing the rest of the committee, the rest of the community.
You will, but I need to make my points here first, and I've only been going here
Well,
about 30 minutes.
we're not going to take your time.
Okay. Section 5.15 of your rules. Application shall contain minutes of all meetings held during the 12-month period immediately preceding the date of application. Okay?
Mr. Bennett.
We got a problem there, and I'm going to clean it up this time. I would like to draw Mr. Shell's attention to the next page. What page on there, Jay? 76?
Yes.
I'd like to draw Mr. Shell's attention to page 77, and I apologize, in a sense, for the way the regulation book is, but I didn't do it, so I don't apologize 1,000%. I want Mr. Shell and the board members, if you got your regulation book, I want you to look at number 13. Number 13, on page 77 of the handbook. Mr. Shell is absolutely correct. Number 7 says what it says. But there's a general principle in law, and that applies to regulations, that more specific controls over general and more recent controls over earlier. Okay? It's doctrines of interpretation. All right? Number 7 says minutes of all meetings. Well, folks, that's in direct conflict with sub 13's letter D as in dog, and I'm going to tell you how this happened, and I'm going to tell you what was missing in the regulation book, and then I'm going to tell you it doesn't matter because it's been adopted again in 2003, and it's in the back of the book, and so we're going to whip this little pony out and try to dispose of this one, or at least, as Mr. Shell says, I'm going to make my record. Okay? ABC Regulation 5.15 sub 7 says minutes of all meetings. ABC Reg sub 13, and folks, this is real powerful stuff. This is like the stuff that I told you about legislative determinations and legislative findings and declaration of legislative intent. I want you to look at number 13. Private club mixed drink permit not to be issued to any unqualified nonprofit corporation. That's supposed to be on italics bold because that's supposed to be the title of the regulation. It's not, but we keep going. Pursuant to the authority of Art Code N 39205, which when this sub 13 was originally written, we were still in Arkansas statute annotated, but that's another story. The definition of private club as stated in Art Code N henceforth will be interpreted by the ABC division as follows. Folks, that's about as powerful as you can make it. This is what we're going to look at. This is what we say our regulation says. A, nonprofit corporation existing for a year. B, 100 or more members paying $5. That's obviously been outdated. It's been updated, and I'll get to that in a minute. Nonprofit object purpose. And D, nonprofit corporation must admit regularly parents, at least once a month, parents, for a period of one parent's year preceding the date of application, as evidenced by minutes of such meetings. More specific controls over general, later controls over early. By your adoption of ABC Reg 5.1513 sub D as in dog, you gutted, by implication, 5.157. Now, starting one more time into the hymnal, and I don't know if we're all using the same book, but
Before you go farther, I don't understand what you're saying.
Why
would that say they don't have to include the minutes with their application?
Because in 1982, when this regulation 5.15 sub 12 was adopted, when it was still Arkansas statute annotated, they said, in effect, to me, they said to me, and of course you can say that to you, but to me, it means that in 1982, when they came down and they said, this is our specific interpretation of what a nonprofit corporation applicant's got to be, they gutted sub 7 by addition of 13, which was more recently adopted for the first time in 1982, and they said in 5.15 sub 13 sub D as in dog, minutes of meetings for the previous 12 months. It does not say all minutes of all meetings. That's the conflict. More specific controls over general, newest, controls over old.
I mean,
now,
it's different interpretation. It says as evidenced by minutes. You gotta have, all that does is say minutes. This over here says include all your minutes with your application. That's all it says.
But this was written before that part, 5.15 was adopted before 1982. In 1982, they started saying, this is what we really think it is, and this is what we really want to see. Now, one more time, ABC Reg 5.15 sub 13 is yet amended one more time.
Page 124, that's what I've been looking at.
Yes, page 124.
But, I mean, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, except we leave out the $5 because the legislature in 2003 says there's no minimum membership requirement. And it's readopted by the board in August 20th of 2003 before the date of this application. So it's in effect on the date of this application, even if my 1982 deal is not understandable because they left the date off. The 2003 one is understandable because the date's there and it says this is it. And the same declaration, private club mixed drink permit not to be issued, henceforth would be interpreted to mean as follows. D, must have met regularly once a month for a period of 1 year as evidence in the minutes of such meetings. The language in sub 7 has been superseded by a later version.
You and Mr. Bennett are gonna get to be close personal friends here with this
That's what I think is
going
different.
I think so.
And I appreciate his clarification, but I just differ. This is what, if an applicant's gonna come to you and make an application, this is what he needs to have in his application. Now, you guys can consider whether he's qualified or not if he has these minutes. But now, it says right here, you need to have all the minutes of all meetings held during the 12-month period immediately preceding the date. Now, if he doesn't have them, he's not qualified. He doesn't have the minutes. If he doesn't have minutes of regular meetings at least once a month, he's not qualified. But your application says what it says, and whether it has to have those minutes or not is one question. But the application has to have those within it so you can review it and determine the qualifications and maybe the ability of such applicant to comply with corporate law.
Well, as a matter of fact, I want to differentiate between regulation book and applications. There are application instructions that are given to applicants. And the instruction sheet given to the applicant says monthly minutes of meetings for 12 months preceding the month applications. So our current application process matches, and I think legally matches, 5.1513 sub D as in dollar. And, you know, different minds will have different issues, and he's made his point.
It's out there and we'll please go on down the road.
All right, I'm getting held up quite a bit, but I'll keep on going. My point there is, every time I make a statement, I get objected to.
Hey, I asked him to.
Oh, that's
You're trying
fine.
to,
Well,
if there's something, I gotta listen to my legal.
Okay.
All right.
You can.
let's go.
Election of members, 5.21, must be by committee. 2/3 vote of membership. Again, I haven't seen minutes of that. Your application does not have it. There's no minutes that show that if there were even votes, that they were not included, those were not included with the application. Based upon the minutes I see attached to the application, there are at most 3 members of this organization. Okay? 3 validly elected members of this organization. Now, we'll walk through that here in just a minute.
Those are officers.
Yes. There's a membership
If he's gonna make
list.
statements like that, he ought to say at what point in time, because obviously the application at a point in time has more members than 3.
It was not obvious to me, but I'll get to it. Okay. You have this in your file. It's a membership list.
Got more than 3 names on it.
It's a membership list,
Okay.
according to them.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk through the minutes here and show you why I think it's invalid and why this organization is not qualified.
Where's that at?
This should be, no, it should be in your application file. Do you have the file?
Even after I took 57 and knocked it up to 114 for couples and knocked it down to 175, they still got 118 membership units, so they're still over the 100.
If they're valid.
Yeah.
In looking at this, and do y'all have this? It's in the file, but I didn't know if you have copies of
They
it.
do not
It's
have
in the
individual
file.
copies.
We
It's
don't
in the
have
file.
individual.
To you. Now, Randy, I need one clarification, and I'm going to assume this, but I think these dates, and we may have to ask them, are
I know.
these dates are the dates they became members?
Those dates are the dates they made the application. Those are the dates on the membership application.
Okay. So, we don't know when they became members?
We're going back to the same story again.
You'll find a reference to the membership committee having approved membership applications. I think you'll find it in the September 2003 minutes, if you'd like to look at it.
Okay, we'll look at that. So that, I mean, according to.
Those dates are membership application dates.
Is this, so this is not gonna be your book, your
No.
membership book?
No.
You're not gonna, it's just one
This
list of
is-
members?
This is the list of members that had been approved for membership and were active members at the time the application was made in accordance with the code and the regulations.
Can you show me minutes of the meeting where these people were approved?
The application does not contain.
I know,
You
I'm just
wait a minute.
asking the question. Can you show me the minutes of the meeting where these
You
members were
mean
approved?
right now?
Yes.
Didn't bring those with me. You should have called me yesterday. I could have brought them.
Where are they?
We have records back there, but it's not required for the application. How many times does he have to tell you that?
Well, Mr. Shellett, what I'd like to do, and I'm talking to our director about trying to move this along a little bit. I know you want to make a lot of these points. If we could just brief, if you could sum them up a little bit better, where we don't get into this vastly amount of hair splitting. We accepted, the agency has accepted this petition, or this potential permit as valid. Our attorneys have told us it's good. You say it's obviously not good.
Now,
Why don't
wait. Explain that to me.
What
Y'all
I'm
have
saying,
accepted it as valid?
We've accepted the petition here to be heard, okay? And aren't you trying to make points that was wrong? Am I incorrect in that?
I'm making the point that this organization's unqualified because they've not complied with your regulations.
Okay,
So
well,
when you say y'all-
now, what I'm saying is we took the permit, we took the potential permit in-house. It got, our legal people evidently thought it was good enough to send it down here to the board, okay? And that's all I can really, I
Okay, let
know
me-
the
let me
point,
make
and so
sure-
I think we're okay to deal.
My
with this.
understanding
If that's
is-
what I'm not sure I know where you're going.
Now speak.
You please.
My understanding is the application was denied. We're here on appeal from a denied application. Okay, so I don't believe it was approved.
No, I said the permit was eligible to be brought in, not rubber stamp approved, but it was eligible for us to hear it. It got down to this level, and that's what we're trying to do. Robert?
Mr. Chairman, to an extent, he is correct. It was denied. It wasn't
Yeah.
denied for
Oh, I
any
know
basis of
that.
qualification, but it is a de novo application, so he certainly gets to make his record on point, even though that wasn't part of my denial, had anything to do with the qualification, because Mr. Bennett reviewed it, I reviewed it when I acted on, I found it to be a qualified application in terms of how we interpret our own regulations, which Mr. Bennett has explained. Mr. Shell is taking issue with how we interpret our regulations, which he is entitled to do. So I would merely say, unless Mr. Bennett finds additional reason that he might comment, that Mr. Shell simply make his point of where you think is sufficient, and it's not necessary to argue it, because by our own instruction
Well, that's kind of where I was trying to
by our
go
own
with.
instruction
That's what I
sheet, we
thought you
tell
were
the
saying.
applicants what to give us and what we review. We believe that we are complying with our own regulations. If you do not believe we are, then you simply say, I don't think you are, because this says this, this said, and we'll say, if we take issue, here's what our interpretation is.
Then y'all can kind of sort it out later. I'm just desperately wanting to
And
hear from
of
your
course,
community.
I would say this for the record, certainly, if you said something that the board said, well, gee, I believe you're right, and I believe the agency has been interpreting their own regulation wrong, you certainly have the ability to make that finding. But we've consistently interpreted our regulations in the manner that we have in processing this application. So, but yet,
Well, that's kind of
Mr.
where
Shell
I'm
certainly
Well,
has his right to make his
I
point.
understand
and
that.
we're in error.
But please, I've been making my points, and then I've been getting stopped. Okay, so my intent is I'm trying to do that. But now when I get stopped and interrupted, I need to stop.
I think Mr. Bennett did need to clarify, which I think he did, what the agency's
That's
interpretation
fine.
of the regulation.
Yeah, and that's fine, but don't hold it against me because I'm not moving along. You
No,
understand?
you got plenty of time, you're
Okay.
fine. I just want to try to move it forward here. We really get bogged down in the procedurals.
Well, I understand, and it's kind of a necessary evil here, at least for a record.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, It's hard for me to stay quiet all the time on this. Please, may I have just a moment? As far as Mr. Shell wants to go quarreling with the regulations or the law or the interpretation is just fine. I can be quiet during that. I cannot be quiet when he misquotes the record. This record, the application clearly states in the September 10, 2003 minutes, our next meeting will be October 26, 2003 at 5 p.m., which will be the first annual membership meeting since the membership committee approved membership applications. It's in there. Now, you wait a minute.
Be nice, guys.
Okay, you wait a minute. You asked me where were the membership committee minutes. They're not here. The application process does not require them. To me, that's a complete answer. Now,
Who was at that meeting?
this meeting in
Yeah,
September,
you brought it out. Just tell me who was at that meeting.
I wasn't at that September meeting.
Well,
Or I might have been at that
tell
September
me
meeting, I
who
don't
it was.
remember. How about if 3 people were there, was it enough? Is that your problem?
Was there a quorum present?
Yes.
Show me.
I don't have to show you, that's the point here.
All I asked was, who was at that meeting? If we're going back to corporate law, which I know something about, I understand you have to give notice of a meeting, you have to have a list of people there, and you have to have a quorum to take action. That's what minutes are kept for.
What is your point?
They're not there.
It is not required in the application process.
I'm saying, as a corporation, you've not kept the law.
Fine. Carry me away. Arrest me, do something.
It is their determination as to whether you're going to continue to keep the law. It is very relevant whether you've kept it to begin with. You or your
If
client.
this board wants to look at this and say that this is an indication that I have bad character, they certainly have the power to do that.
Well,
We
why
follow
would they
the law of
require the
application.
minutes? Why are the minutes required? I mean, board, y'all may or may not look at them, but from a corporate perspective, the law is there. There are legal requirements for a corporation. You have to have bylaws when you form a corporation. When were your bylaws adopted?
It's in there. Why don't you read it?
I have read.
Randy, let's try to.
I think we need to go back.
Keep misquoting the record.
We have a set of instructions as to what this agency requires to be filed. That's in accordance with our interpretation of the regulations. That's what was filed in this instance, as is in all private club applications. We have there are certain minimal requirements. Mr. Bennett reviews to see that it is a nonprofit in good standing, been existing here. The reviews filed with the members and the evidence of the existing year about the monthly membership meetings. He reviews all those. That is in the record. That's what we require. Now, the argument back and forth here, I submit to you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Shell can make his points, and if any board member wanted to bring it up and make an issue and say, well, gee, maybe the staff is wrong in how we process the application, maybe we want to argue that at that point in time. But until the board is convinced that the points that Mr. Shell is making are meritorious over the long-standing interpretation of the agency and this board, then, and I think, Mr. Shell, and I correct you, you'd simply like to make your record. You think we're wrong, you think the board is wrong, the agency is wrong, and what we require.
I respect the board. I'm just trying to make a point that I think there's some things that may not have been considered, and I think they're very valid points. And I don't want to, you all have to make a decision, and I respect your authority to do that. It's my job to bring out my concerns. If I interpret them differently, I can give those to you. You can weigh them. You can say, Jay Shell is a nut, and you don't want to listen to anything he says. Or you can say, this guy may know a little something about corporate law. Maybe these are things that we require minutes to be brought in here. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it's important that I look at this, and it tells me something about this applicant. And that's the point I want to make to you. I have a lot of issues with this corporation. I think there's problems. And I've been making points about your regulations, but I'm about to make them about the organization itself. I just want to make my point. Just want to make my point. That's all I want to do. Okay?
We have minimum requirements that we look at. That's the jurisdiction that this board has chosen to extend over the nonprofits that make applications. That wasn't one of the subjects I took in law school, so I don't know a whole lot about corporate law or non-corporate law than what I've gained here. But I would submit to you that this is not, that this agency does not have jurisdiction. I'll let Mr. Bennett correct me if I'm wrong, jurisdiction over matters that are dealing with the legal, some technical legal structure of the nonprofits that appear here tonight, because we require minimal evidence of compliance. That we don't have the manpower, the resource, or perhaps the legal background to delve into these. I don't know where you go into what the element before, or whether you go to probably whatever you're.
Well, there's a fairly large body of law, corporate law, regarding how you run and
this is a
operate
lay
a corporation.
board that does not have the authority and responsibility to review this wide, big body of corporate law. That's why, over the years, the board has chosen, in its wisdom, to pass regulation that says we want these minimum requirements to ensure that that our interpretation of the law, that these clubs are income, that these nonprofit corporations are in compliance and make applications.
Secretary of State determines who's a qualified nonprofit corporation, as far as I know.
The permit has gotten up to here, you're making the points that it's not, it's not qualified to be here. What else have we got? What else would you like to point out that says they're not qualified?
Okay.
I think we understand what you're saying,
Okay.
and now make those points.
Okay. For instance, Mr. Ishmael asked if I'd read these. I certainly have. There's their bylaws, which were contained in the application, require in section 6.01, the board of directors may determine from time to time the amount of initial membership dues and annual dues payable to the corporation by members. Okay? Annual dues shall be paid